On today's episode of WatchJRGo, I've got something a little bit different for you guys, a Jeep that tried to set itself on fire. And today, we're gonna fix it. What is going on, guys? I am WatchJRGo, and today we are gonna go grab this Jeep that honestly is in really good shape. In fact, it's probably gonna remote start itself right now, no problem at all. And there were also no lights on the dash when this thing came over, which is pretty crazy. I was just told that something was majorly wrong and we needed to figure out why it didn't drive correctly. It helps if you hit unlock instead of lock. All right, check this thing out. So oil change required, not really a light on the dash, but, and I can't close the door either. Helps if you actually do that. And then 85,000 miles. So super, super low miles here. But if we put this thing in gear, oh, you have to put the key in. All right, again, no lights on the dash, like I said before, but if we put it in gear, here's reverse. And then I'm gonna just take my foot off the brake right now. It didn't even move. Okay, low throttle, she takes off just fine. So we thought maybe transmission issue, right? But also it doesn't have any miles on it, so why on earth would it be the transmission? So we're gonna shift into drive right now. And this thing, you know, drove here just fine. And I took it for a quick test drive to feel it out. And I was like, well, the transmission shifts seem relatively fine, but for some reason, it's incredibly hard to drive. It doesn't like to creep forward. It doesn't like to, it can't go 60 mile an hour, which is crazy. If you try to put it on the highway, it will fight you like you wouldn't believe. And it also pulls over some bumps and stuff like that. So that's never good. So after I took it on a test drive, I had a little bit of a 67 Camaro inspired thought about what could be wrong with this thing, because for a while there it was doing the same thing. And you guys know I spent a million hours on the braking system on that 67 Camaro. So I was like, you know, let me just do a quick walk around with my infrared thermometer, and it answered all of our questions immediately. On the driver front, I checked the brake temp, and ambient's pretty hot outside, but there's 93. And then I checked this brake, and we're at 87. And the rear brakes obviously normally have way less heat in them. They're smaller and proportioned slightly lighter. 84 on that brake. And then I came over here and checked this brake. And honestly, it needs driven to repeat this, but this brake was at 500 while all the other brakes were at 100 yesterday. This brake was absolutely on fire. The wheel was making the heat creaking noises from just being absolutely smoked. And then a closer look showed me the brake rotor itself has turned completely blue. Look at all the burnishing on there. It's got lines in it. The color changes throughout. This thing has been absolutely on fire when probably hot enough when it was going actually 60 mile an hour with your foot on the accelerator. It probably got hot enough to nearly catch the entire Jeep on fire. So it should be pretty easy to check our conclusions here. It is in park, but four-wheel drive should be out, so there we go. That rolls like a pretty standard wheel. And over here, I'm assuming, wow, not even a hint. I mean, I moved it, but you can't really move that. You are pushing that thing. And it does make sense that it would be a seized up brake caliper. And that was my plan, was to go get brake caliper, pad, disc, replace all this stuff that was on fire and go from there. But I called the Jeep Master Tech, Tyler Potter, of course. You guys have seen him on the channel before. He works for CDJR, does JKUs, Jeeps like this, day in and day out. And I was like, hey man, I think I got a stuck front caliper. He's like, stuck front caliper? It's not the caliper, it's gotta be the hose. So shout out to Tyler for immediately knowing the problem. And he was like, go replace both hoses and just take the caliper off, double check it and see if the seal's melted from overheating. Now, I do know this has been driven for a while like this, and I do want to make sure the caliper isn't smoked. That would obviously be the worst, and we might have to put a caliper on it. So we're just gonna go ahead and pop everything off right now and see if the seals in the caliper are toast. If they are, well, it's a bit more of an expensive fix, and if it's not, Well, we're still doing rotors, pads, and hoses on both sides because Tyler said the hoses collapse internally on these things. It's super, super common. And when they do it, you can change one. And then he said like the next month, it'll be back for the second one. So you might as well just do them both. So our game plan today is pull this wheel off, see how much damage we got to take care of. And hopefully one of O'Reilly's run later, we can have all this swapped out. I already checked, the hoses are in stock. With the wheels off, we've got a way better view of what's going on in here. And you know, the best part is without the leverage from the tire, I can't turn this at all anymore. It's completely locked up, but jump in here and take a look at the damage with me. You can see there's some checking, but really just incredibly hot spots all the way around this rotor where it has been very, very, very warm. And I did already soak everything with knocker loose so we could get the brake line off right there. It should be a relatively simple task. I think there's a bolt right back there, a bolt right back there, and that bolt, that takes off all the brake line brackets. And of course, you'll need to pull your wheel speed sensor off of there. And then the brake line actually looks like a relatively simple job. You can tell this thing is 100% stock and really clean. The suspension, original, everything's original in here. So these might even be factory brakes. So it's probably time, honestly, and at least a new brake line makes it safe again. But if we can see right there, I inspected the rubber seal on the piston as well. We're gonna change the pad so we'll look even closer, but right there, it looks like it's completely fine. Like the seal's still nice and supple, the outer seal, and once we get the pads out, we'll double check that and make sure the piston and the piston seals look really good. But other than that, the brake rotor and the hose were the biggest pieces of the failure right there, and none of this should take terribly long to replace. The worst part is always backing off those little fasteners right there. So with that said, let's head on over to O'Reilly's. We might as well change the oil because it's already up on jack stands. So we'll just get everything fixed at once. Brake line, oil change, and rotors, and pads, and hopefully the caliper is totally fine. You don't really know how the piston runs until you get that brake line unhooked because it's not like you can push it backwards. The brake lines, when they collapse inside, turn into a one-way valve where fluid can come into the caliper, but it can't come back out. So that's definitely what's going on there. And I don't think we're gonna easily push that caliper back in to check the travel. Also, the wheels were not happy about coming off. I don't think they've been off for a very long time. A lot of buildup in there. All right, guys, we are here at O'Reilly's to buy a complete braking system for the Jeep for the most part. So let's get inside here and see, you know what? We might even be able to pull off that deal there, which would be incredible. What's up, guys?
What's up, buddy?
All right, I think we replaced the whole Jeep.
Pretty much.
Thanks, Serdy. I'm out of here. We got some Syntec, we got a filter, and we got everything for the brakes. Let's get to it. We are back from O'Reilly's with a pile of stuff here. We've got brake hoses for days, brake rotors, and a full oil change for the Jeep as well. So hopefully I grabbed all the right things. I went back and got it myself, so there's a chance I made a mistake. But hopefully we've got everything we need to get this job done. It looks right. And get an oil change done, reset the last warning on the dash, and make sure this Jeep doesn't burn down. Well, I just took our brand new brake pads and sprayed them down with Disc Brake Quiet outside because we want to make sure this is nice, you know, put together really well as it goes back together with a brand new braking system. So while that's drying, I'm jumping under here and draining the oil out. So let's do exactly that. Shouldn't take too long because it's a Jeep. You probably don't even need to jack this thing up to change the oil in reality, but it's kind of nice. And it looks like you need a 16. Somebody even Loctited it when they did the oil last. Oh, missed. All right, like a professional, I got oil everywhere. Well, the oil's still draining down and the brakes are drying, so I figured I better keep going and let's get this oil filter in here. So we're doing the Wix XP, the WL 1010 or 110. You know, it's 10010 XP. Nice, it didn't drip all over me. And of course, we got a fresh O-ring and the filter should just drop in. So All right. Not even getting messy. Go Jeep. Oh, just kidding. As soon as I said it, covered. But we're getting way more oil out of the bottom. I'm gonna change the O-ring, lube it up, and we'll put this back in. All right, we've got the coated rotors from O'Reilly's here, the Brake Best Select Pros. So we're gonna go ahead and slide those on, and we'll also even put the retainers back. I know the retainers are the bane of all of our existences, but they were on there, so I'm putting them back. So, we got our new rotor, and I went ahead and set the brake line in place. We're gonna shoot that in right now. Pretty easy, it's just 2 tins to hold it on, and of course, the banjo bolt that hooks up to the back of the caliper. So, once you get over here, just kinda shoot that thing back in. It mounts right to the frame. And there is a tiny little bracket that holds your wheel speed sensor down here, and you'll wanna put that back as well. And then there's a tin back here that you'll either need to use a wrench, a ratchet, or if you have an impact, a swivel. So you can get in there, and we'll tighten this up. And fresh brake hose accomplished. You just snap in all the little push fasteners, remount your wheel speed sensor wire to the hose. It's got a bunch of little clips that you have to put in. Also, good luck getting that back in there, that's work. I'm gonna drive these on. If I have I had a big old socket sitting here that would have been perfect, but you know what? I'm gonna find a big old socket. There we go, that's better. All right, brake rotor retained. And now, just toss the new pads that are right here into our caliper, put the caliper back on, and this job should be wrapped up. Oil change completely done. I didn't finish it on camera because all I had to do was dump oil in. I think you guys know how that works. 5.9 quarts, 5W20 on a JK like this. So nice and easy. And the rest of this is just a little bit of time, and you should be back on the road after you bleed the brakes. So we do have a lot of work to do to bleed the brakes, but hey, perfect time to change the brake fluid while you're in here. All right, we've got our brand new pads in the caliper, which did retract perfectly, and the seals looked good. So we are gonna reuse this. It is the Mopar TRW right there. You know, after watching the TRW abandoned campus video, I don't know if TRW even exists anymore. I know they split into a bunch of different companies, but kind of interesting to see stuff from them out in the wild. And we'll just toss our caliper back on here carefully, put in the bolts, hook up the line, and this side's done. And then we're gonna go ahead and do the other side, obviously, because we don't want these wearing unevenly after all the work we just did here. And we definitely don't want another seized up brake caliper causing a giant fireball on the side of the road. So, give me a couple more minutes to put these bolts in and put the last banjo bolt in, and the wheels can go on. This thing is basically wrapped up. And then we'll do the other side and take it out for a quick test drive. I think it's gonna be great. Since we were going all the way on this brake job, I also decided we were going to go through all the brake fluids. So I vacuumed all the calipers down over and over and over till we got nice clear brake fluid out of every one, and changed all the brake fluid in the reservoir, obviously, because you go through that reservoir brake fluid very quickly. So over here you can see everything's back together. You can also see I had to get the welder out because the spot weld broke right there. So I had to put a nice weld on the little bracket that holds the brake line to the frame. So we got that back together. Everything is cleaned up, and it's time to put the wheels on here. So brake fluid reservoir all put together, and the wheels going on, and it's time to take this out for its first test drive, and hopefully the brake temps look normal. All right, let's make sure we don't have any lights set. I did already reset the oil life reset, so. So far, so good. Let's get this thing out of here and get it on the road. Well, I made a couple passes bedding in the brakes already, but we're gonna do one right now. We're at about 40 miles an hour, and we'll go ahead and come to a complete stop just to see if we have the squeal. There was a squeal, of course. The brakes were getting close to their squealers, and of course, if there's any pull in the wheel or anything like that. So we'll just let go. It looks pretty good to me. This is totally behind us, so I bet he pulls me over for this, but I'm gonna have to tell him to leave me alone. I'm working here. Well, that was a pretty good stop right here at this light. Let's do one more. And it creeps now, which is the most important thing. If we just let off the gas, she takes off. So we know we don't have a brake hanging severely or anything like that anymore. It shouldn't be hanging at all. And the calipers were honestly really great. And of course we changed all the brake fluid. So I think the brakes on this thing feel pretty amazing now. So we'll make one more stop from just a little bit faster to make sure we get the brakes nice and bedded in, and I'll show you guys the wheel so you can see if there's any pull there. Here we go, a little bit faster. Come on, Jeep. All right. Well, there's crown on this road, but I didn't pull. It moved over a half lane. Not bad. Not bad. It's a lot of crown too. All right, Jeep mission was a success here. I think we got everything fixed. You know, this is a super nice Jeep, 85,000 miles. It's too bad that the brake line failures comment on them, but it's not really a big deal. And if you don't do anything else, if you only replace the brake lines, it's probably a pretty quick fix. If you have to go in and do pads, rotors, everything, it takes you a little bit longer. I got 2-3 hours in the whole job, plus the oil change, but we got it done, and this Jeep is back on the road. So that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to head on over to shop WatchJRGo.com for cool shirts, not like this. And please like, share, subscribe, do whatever you want to do, and I will talk to you next time. Well, we got it back in the shop. I have a lot of cleanup to do here. There's oil and brake fluid everywhere, not to mention I dropped a wrench in the oil. So time to go fishing and go get all this junk back out of here, all these brake discs and brake pads. We got to clean the shop up so we can get back to work on the mini engines. And that will be done shortly.